Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Arsenal Fan Theory podcast. And thank you for joining us for the Watford preview, the final game of the season. It felt like we'll never get here, but at the end of the day, I'm quite happy that we actually are here, seeing how the season has gone for us. And as always, I've got Mike with me
What's up, Brent?
and Dino.
How's it, guys?
All right, guys. Yeah, like I mentioned just now, that um, yes, I obviously love watching football so constantly, week in, week out, two games a week. It's been a pleasure to watch. But how the last, yes, we've had some great fixtures, City, Liverpool, but also we've had some really frustrating fixtures. And I'm actually quite happy to see the season end. Not because I don't want to see football, but I want to see Arteta have a proper preseason and see what he can do with the transfer window and the backing of the board, hopefully, behind him. So let's go on to Watford. Mike, what are your thoughts on Watford? Do you think we're going to have wholesale changes now that we don't have anything to play for, or do you think we're going to try and build confidence for the big final?
Well, firstly, I couldn't agree with you more, Brent. I'm also happy to see the season end. Um, Hopefully next season can be a lot better under Arteta. Hopefully he gets some backing and we can buy at least, I think we need at least 3 top players
Sorry.
coming before we start competing for the Champions League again. So hopefully we do that in the market. But for the Watford game, I can't see Arteta going for any other starting 11 than the team he wants to play the FA Cup final. Okay? I saw him in the interview. He said he'll assess the players' fitness. He also said he could see the players are starting to get a bit tired. But yeah, he has to go for the 11 he thinks he's going to win us the FA Cup.
Dean, do you agree? Do you see
Yeah.
Arteta? Yeah, sorry.
No, sorry, Brendan. I see Arteta pretty much. I agree with Michael over there, choosing the team that he believes, that's going to feature in the final, and pretty much hopefully some sort of tactic because it's difficult playing Chelsea and playing Watford. I don't know if you're going to have the same tactic, but yeah, it would be nice to see the team that we want to push and build some confidence going into that game. But with that being said, if a player needs a rest, if a top player needs a rest, like a Shaka needs a rest, to be ready for the final. Yeah, I could see him doing that as well, but that just comes down to whether players need the rest or not.
Well, I personally feel this is a good opportunity for Teta to try and right a few wrongs that we had against Villa. And honestly, like we mentioned in the Villa review, I don't really see him doing that. Righting the wrongs with the same formation that he went out against Villa or against City, and he's going to try and play the same way against Chelsea, I presume, that he did play against City and Liverpool. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how he mixes it up. And obviously, yes, Watford have been bad the last few weeks. They've had the last 2 games. We're in the same situation they basically are in now. Everything to play for, everything to fight for. But I don't know. Do you guys think we might see a bit more of a fight from Watford than we've seen in the last 2 games? Because technically they are the favourites to take that last regulation spot.
Well, Bren, obviously, like you mentioned in the Aston Villa review episode, that we seem to do a lot better when teams come and try and play their football when they try and attack us. And to be honest, I expect it from both of our last games. Watford, I don't think they're going to have the same mentality as Aston Villa. Just try and be solid defensively and, hopefully grind out the goal, which obviously they could have done more. I expect Watford to attack us. Dean's obviously going to love this story. Deeney was speaking about the Troy Deeney comment of cajones. So he's gonna want to prove a point. He's gonna want to attack Arsenal, and he's obviously going to get that mentality right across the whole squad.
Mm.
And Chelsea, like we saw them play against Liverpool, they like to attack. They want to be an attacking team as well. So I think it's a perfect rehearsal for the final. Let Watford come and attack us. Let us just try and be solid defensively and break them on the counter attack.
Mike, without touching too much on the Chelsea final, I think we've got a special podcast planned for the final with a special guest coming in. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Watford are all going to play with a bit more, or try to play a bit more attackingly. But I don't know if you guys watched the championship last round of the championship last night, where they had West Brom, was it Burnley? No, it was West Ham, West Brom. There were three teams fighting off for the final place. Brentford. Yeah, it was West Brom, Brentford, and Fulham fighting over that final automatic promotion spot. Where if one of them won, it would have put them through, and it turned out two drew and one lost, which means West Brom went through. So high pressure sometimes, causes silly mistakes and unexpected results. I think Barnsley was also going down to the League One, and they beat Brentford to stay up. So it's a crazy time, I think, to be playing someone like a Watford.
Oh, look, Brendan. As you say, pressure can tell in the game. I don't see there being any pressure on our shoulders for this game. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much a rehearsal or a friendly match. It's not a friendly match. It's a competitive match. It's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying it's all, we are playing for nothing. We maybe for a position higher, but we've got no pressure. They've got a lot of pressure on us. And, going back on that whole Troy Deeney thing, I think that they think this is where they're getting their points. And that's not going to work in their favor. If they think they're going to come and find the same Arsenal they found the last 2-3 years with no Kahunis and all of that stuff, then they're going to get walked over. And, I agree with Michael that Troy Deeney is going to be pushing this whole thing through the corridors of the training grounds and everything. But yeah, I don't know if that's going to be the best thing because, it's definitely a different Arsenal to the last time he called us what he called us. So, yeah, truly speaking, it's the same as the Aston Villa game. It can either end 1-0 or go completely the other way.
Yeah, look, not to throw, I think I should have probably mentioned this in the Aston Villa review, but I think you guys both called 4-0, 5-0.
Yeah.
So, yes, I did predict us winning. I'm not going to say City and tell you I told you so.
But you can't come and look at us funny.
But I told you this is not going to be a walk in the park. It's.
Yeah, but we weren't the team. We weren't the team that we were the last two games.
No, I think, like you mentioned, Dean, it was you or Michael, I can't remember, but you could really see the players were tired. The fact that they've played 2 games a week for the best part of the last 6 weeks, it had its toll on most of the teams, and you can see that starting to run through the entire Premier League, not just Arsenal.
But then, as you say, these relegation teams have got a lot to fight for, and they pulling energies places that that they thought there were never extra energy inside them or whatever. You know what I mean? You look at Villa; they didn't look like they were tired.
Yeah, they definitely ran a lot more than us and pressed a lot harder.
So then, yeah, it can come down to exactly that. Where we can be, I don't know, mind in the final. These Oaks have got wind under their sails, and so I never saw us losing the Aston Villa game, if I'm being completely honest, especially coming off the back of 2 amazing wins and the confidence sky high, So, yeah, I'm definitely not going to discount the loss this time, and I think a loss this time is possibly a bit more on the cards because of our history with Watford,
But don't you think it's so Arsenal to come out in this game and actually absolutely smash Watford? Because I think if we have to look and be honest with ourselves, you kind of expect a game like Villa after the high of Man City And then after the lower Villa, we get the game like Norwich where we come out and play Norwich off the park. So I think we quite possibly could expect something like a thrashing from Arsenal. And Mike, is there any changes you would like to see happen? Look, I don't know. I don't like Watford a lot. I don't really care if they get relegated or not. The only player I would probably feel a bit bad for is
Danny Welbeck.
Danny Welbeck. But I mean, we've seen Kieran Gibbs go down as well. So,
well, Brian, just to clarify, are you asking about any changes regarding the 11 that's starting?
Yeah. What I think all of us are probably in the same boat that we don't expect a lot of changes. And we think you'd give the same starting 11, more or less, that you'd give in the final next week. But are there any changes you would like to see? Someone that you would want to see in a certain position, even though you don't expect it to happen?
Well, other than stating the obvious, not really, Bren. It looks like Mustafi might miss the last 2 games of the season. That to me would be a straight swap with Holding. Tierney clearly needs to start at the left side of the centre back, of the centre 3, or at left wing back, because I'm a big fan of Saka. I hope he plays, but if Tierney starts at left wing back and Kolasinac starts at the left side of the centre 3, then I don't see Saka starting. Pepe, Lacazette, Alba all need to start. I'd actually not be surprised to see Lacazette get a rest for Watford.
If Nelson's ready.
If Nelson's ready, yeah. And obviously Xhaka, he needs to start the last 2 games. Yeah, even if he's a bit tired, for me, we're a completely different side when he's on the pitch.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Dean, on the Mustafi situation, I think it's sad that we've been playing Holding on the right hand side of that centre back 3, because I think we're putting him under immense pressure, and I think he could have thrived on the left hand side, but obviously our best player in the back 3 plays there, so you'll have to make do with what the chances you get.
You're talking Kieran Tierney playing in the back 3, huh?
Yeah, I think Kieran Tierney is going to probably play left centre back, and for the FA Cup final, obviously, you'll probably see him there with Maitland-Niles on the left wing back, so similar to the City game.
Yeah, look, for me, I don't know, it's difficult. Let's become nice about Arsenal. At least we've got options these days. But yeah, I fully agree with you. If the whole Kolasinac and Kieran Tierney is gonna, if Kolasinac takes that left centre, and then Kieran Tierney the left wing back, I don't see Saka fitting in, which in a sense is disappointing, because I think he is his strongest when he's on the wing. I know we saw very good signs of him playing behind the striker and intertwining with Aubameyang like that, but I just his best. I think we all believe that his best position is running down the left wing and cutting in, as we see with him and Uber also interchanging. So that's how I would like to see it. I would like Kieran Tierney in the center, the left center back, and then Saka on the left with Uber up front. But I know that's not going to happen. Laka's going to play up front, Uber's going to play on the left, and probably Tierney left center, left wing back. Left center. Yeah. So it's difficult to call.
No, it is, and I think it's with all of these games coming so thick and fast. It's also probably difficult for Arteta to really put his preferred 11 on the pitch every week in, week out. And I think we should move on to the score predictions. Like I said, I don't think there are a lot of players that you really need to look out for against Watford, except if Cleverly plays. He's a player that always likes to score a goal against us. So,
Deulofeu could also be quite a danger player for them.
Yeah, Deulofeu is
Deulofeu back from injury?
I'm not sure.
I know he's been out for quite a while, and Saw has been the most influential player, which is quite an exciting prospect. On the right-hand side, if we didn't have Pepe, obviously, but
Yeah, you see, that could be quite a scary, front three against us. Is the Lefeu, Sarr, and Deeney up front. I think
Yeah,
we would look. This is if I don't know. I don't follow Watford. I am not a fan of Watford at all, especially because of Troy Deeney and everything like that. I fully agree with what Troy Deeney had to say back then, that we had no cajones, but
Yeah, no, he was right
who's
when he said
but
that.
who's he to come out and say that? You know what I mean? He's not a manager. He's not a rep. He's not. So he must keep quiet. He must keep his comments to himself. So I don't like Watford at all. So I hope Delafeu is injured. I hope Sarr is
I
kept
think
out
that
of the game. And then Deeney, I really hope David Luiz bullies Deeney, which is probably asking for too much.
yeah. Well, we've seen a fire-year-old Holding in a few games,
Yeah.
so maybe he can step up. We've seen it in the FA Cup final 2 years ago against Diego Costa, one of the meanest or the nastiest players in the Premier League at the stage, and we've saw a bit of that fire against Mane, even though Mane is quite I don't know.
Yeah, laid back in a way.
Okay, so score predictions. Mike, what do you expect?
Well, like you said, Brendan, it would be typical Arsenal to go lose against Aston Villa and completely bounce back and do hammering over Watford. But it's a difficult one to call because we can be off again. It's difficult to back us to do a clean sheet, but I'll probably go with a 3-0 Arsenal. But also one thing I forgot to mention earlier is obviously Cedric. I don't think he should start the match. Because he's obviously not going to play the FA Cup final. So after the score predictions, I just want to ask you guys a question.
No problem. Dean, what's your score prediction?
I'm going for a 2-1 Arsenal win. I don't see us keeping a clean sheet, especially with the fire that Watford's got going under them. And I see the game being very competitive, up until the 60th, 70th minute, and one of them will break away. Which one of them break away, it's difficult to tell. But of course, as an Arsenal supporter, I would lean towards Arsenal. So 2-1 win for Arsenal.
Well, I'm going to agree with Michael on this one. I think it's just so typical Arsenal that we bounce back and we just put out the performance, especially because we've done that on numerous occasions. If there isn't any pressure on us, if we don't need to do anything, we seem to play with a bit of freedom every time. So I'd probably say also 3-0 to the Arsenal. And hopefully one of us eventually get a score prediction right, because I don't think in all of our predictions
we
haven't been right once.
The first City score prediction, I got City's scoreline correct. I said City would score 3, and they scored 3. Then the next game, the Brighton game, I said Arsenal would win 2-1. Brighton won 2-1. So
we'll have to go fishing to try.
Look, if we don't at least get one score prediction right, I think we should just leave our score prediction.
I think I've thought of that already. So, but see how it goes. We've only got 2 more games left of the season.
I also actually thought we should try and do a competition. That the loser obviously has to do something. But we're always wrong, so it's also going to be difficult to do that.
Well, we can just say who's the most wrong out of.
Well, obviously, I probably gave my question away as between Bellerin and Maitland-Niles. Who would you guys start at the right wing back or right back role?
Shucks. It's difficult. I would have liked to have seen a lot more from Maitland-Niles, because I think what we did see in him from that one game was amazing. So it's very difficult. Bellerin's also come into a lot of form of late, as we were discussing earlier as well. With that being said, I would definitely probably go with Bellerin because of the experience, as well as he's been featuring more regularly and so on. But it would have been nice to have seen a bit more from Maitland-Niles, which was just, I do know Maitland-Niles and Arteta had a bit of a work ethic issue, as he's had with Guendouzi, as he had with Ceballos and everything like that. So maybe that's why we only saw him eventually come in, because they finally sorted these problems out. And you could definitely see it in Maitland-Niles' game that his workload was amazing. So yeah, I would go more towards Bellerin. As I was saying, he's the one more in form. Not to say that that one game that Maitland-Niles didn't play was not amazing, because he played amazingly in that game. Like I say, we can't bank on him pulling that same performance through just after one game. At least with Bellerin now, we've seen 4 or 5 consecutive good performances from him. So yeah, I'd go with Bellerin over Cedric as well. Yeah, look, after Cedric scored that goal, of course, everybody thought, there's proper competition in here. But I think we'll only next season start to see the competition between Cedric and Bellerin, where they both get to, in a sense, kick off the season competing for the position, instead of Bellerin being first choice, Cedric being second. You know what I
Well,
mean?
Mike, on that, I personally believe, like I mentioned earlier, we'll probably see Maitland-Niles down the left-hand side, the left wing back role against Chelsea again. So I don't see why Arteta would use him as the right wing back in this game.
Look, which is
yeah,
his preferred. Well, it's not his preferred position, but it would be his preferred defensive position. Is the
yeah.
right side.
So on that, I'd probably play Bellerin, but it's not because I prefer him to Maitland-Niles, but I think nothing against Saka. I think Saka is a phenomenal player. I think he's done exceptionally well from that position. But I think for the final, we would rely more on defensive stability than attacking creativity on that wing back position. So keeping that in mind, I'd probably say Bellerin, and then I'd put Maitland-Niles on the other side.
Well, Bren, Saka played left back for a lot of the season and left wing back, and he did actually do quite well defensively throughout the season. So if Deeney does play that left centre back role, I'd like to see Saka starting there again. And yeah, Dean, what?
No, sorry, no, I was just going to say, in a sense, we've also got to consider that, it's going to be a similar game, like you guys said earlier, similar game to the Liverpool and City game, because we know how Chelsea's going to come onto us. So I think, in a sense, that will also play to who he wants to play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know, in a sense, if Saka would be his first choice there in such a massive game. Not putting anything down on Saka, but his form has dropped since he got his new contract. So I don't know if that's playing in the back of Arteta's mind, and just to rather let him see the season out and kick off, restart next season. I don't know if you guys have seen it as well, that since his contract, he hasn't featured as much, and he hasn't been in the same form.
But I think it's a good thing, Dean. Not that it's never a good thing that your players aren't playing as well, but taking a young player out of the limelight for a couple of games. Unfortunately, it's the end of the season, and it might be a final, which would be very nice for Saka to be part of. But we've seen too many times in Arsenal's history a young player breaking through for a couple of games and just fading out because we overplayed him. He picked up the injury and he never made it. So we've seen that.
Yeah, you've got to be
Pulisic.
Yeah, no, but you see, look at how well Lampard is handling Pulisic. You know what I mean? He's beginning of the season, he was almost frozen out of the team. Or I don't know if it was beginning or maybe after the first 5 or 10 games, he was frozen out for like 10 games after that. And then, because it's exactly that. You've got to push these young players. You can't just be like, okay, you've made it now, come and sit. Look at Mason Greenwood from Manchester United. Mason Greenwood only recently was allowed to start training with the first team, was allowed in the first team dressing room and all of that. Although he played probably 10, 15 games before he was allowed in the dressing room, he had to earn it before he could. And that's what these young players need to understand, that they can't just earn today and then it's it. They've got to work every day.
So, on that, I think Mike mentioned to me, or maybe it was someone else, that Saka also only recently was allowed into the first team dressing room.
Yeah, so you see that.
With a few other of the youth players that have played a few games for the Arsenal first team. They were also only recently allowed to go into the first team's dressing room. So
and I like
maybe
that,
that's
Say again, sorry, Brent?
so maybe we'll be seeing a change of culture at Arsenal as well in that sense, you know.
Well, that's one of the biggest thing Arteta has come in. Off of the pitch, it's been the whole culture change. They need to change this culture because Guendouzi is a perfect example of how bad the culture is at Arsenal. Going on about how much money Arsenal has and how much money he makes more than the Brighton players and all of this, it just shows you there's a complete culture problem there, and that's why he's frozen all of these problem players out because it needs to be a firm hand to get this to change, which is brilliant. It's very nice to hear that they've only made it into the dressing room now.
Mike, what are your thoughts on the whole situation about taking young star players out of the limelight every now and again?
Well, I think it's obviously right, Bren. Like you guys mentioned, plenty of Arsenal youngsters that looked like they were going to be big players for us. All the fans saw them as they had a big future at the club. Wilshere is a great example. Someone who's been played too much. He had quite a big reputation at a young age, and obviously through injuries that stagnated his progression a lot. So obviously Saka is a bit down on form. So I think it is also a good reason and a good time to maybe set him out for maybe even for the last two games, so he can just recuperate and just get his mindset right with everything that's happening in his future and the club's future at the moment.
And look, I think it's ideal because we've got him tied down now, so we don't need to worry about if we don't play him in the final, he's going to leave. And he's still going to get a medal. I think he's played more than enough. I don't know what the rules are exactly in the FA Cup, but I think he's been involved in the FA Cup quite a bit, so he should get a medal.
You've got to hit a certain minutes, but it's not massive.
Well, I saw one of the Liverpool's youngsters actually came on last night.
Yeah, what's his name?
Harvey Elliott.
Harvey Elliott, yeah.
Oh, I can't exactly remember which one, but it was his 5th appearance for the club. So he's also getting a medal for participation.
Yeah, he was. No, but he was one of the non-playing medal winners in a sense. He did not make the cut for the amount of games that he needed to play, but he got given a medal. Those guys in the beginning that came through were.
There was a youngster that on the night made the cut. Like there was. Because he played the game against Chelsea, he breached the threshold of 5 games played for the club or whatever.
So you see, it's not even that much. If you're talking 5 games over 38 games, and now we're talking the FA Cup, which is probably about 9 or 8 games if you reach the final.
Yeah, it's probably like 1 or 2 appearances. I don't know.
Yeah, you could be right. I also don't know the specifics.
In any case, we're going. I think we're giving a lot away of our FA Cup preview. I think that could be a long one and a quite exciting one. I do hope our guest is able to join us. He's got quite a big following on his platform. I believe he's got a YouTube channel as well, so keep tuned for that. And as always, guys, thanks for joining me. I know it's quite late again tonight, but we managed to pull another episode through, even though it was a disappointing result to talk about. So thanks for joining.
Thanks a lot, guys.